I'm not sure if you heard, but Picasso has been canceled. There was a big article that came out a couple months ago on the 50th anniversary of his death, which condemned Picasso for supposedly being a misogynist, among other things. Yes, The Guardian called him a monstrous misogynist and a cultural appropriator. At the time, I thought, how ridiculous. I never thought that I would be personally affected. That is, until I went to the museum a couple days ago and saw a trigger warning on Picasso's own exhibition. That's right, Picasso was canceled at his own art exhibition in the Dallas Museum of Art. And here's what the placard read. It's also on the museum website. Picasso's name and legacy are also undivorceable from the misogynistic or abusive behavior he demonstrated towards women. Misogynistic is such a vague term these days that it can include practically anything. And I'm not even here to debate whether Picasso was misogynistic by our standards, because basically what he's guilty of is dating younger women, being kind of a philanderer, being kind of a womanizer, not being a great guy to have a personal relationship with or a romantic relationship. Okay, and I was already aware of that, and it doesn't really affect my experience of Picasso's art. And certainly, I'm not saying don't ever mention that. I mean, if let's say you're reading a biography and the perspective is that he was not chivalrous towards the women in his life, I think that's a perfectly valid point to make. However, to practically condemn him at his own exhibition in a museum has gone so far that it seems like the lunatics are running the asylum, to use a cliche. The feminists have apparently taken over the entire art world, the leftists, the multiculturalists, etc. So, he didn't really do much to deserve this, in my opinion. And that same placard goes on at the museum, quote, "The artist was inspired by his lovers, who served as muses for his ever-changing style. These women were key to Picasso's artistic success and fame, yet their contributions are often overlooked." So again, what exactly are they upset about? In this particular exhibition, it was sketches by Picasso of basically a celebration of the female form, some female nudes and some more abstract pieces that he did, one of which is called Woman in an Armchair Dreaming, her head resting on her hand. And they're not the most famous pieces by Picasso. The Dallas Museum of Art is not exactly a hub of cultural activity, but it's just kind of what we have in the city, and it's kind of cool that they had some Picassos. However, I mean, getting back to this placard, what exactly are they upset about? So the women are being overlooked. Their contributions are being overlooked because Picasso is objectifying him by drawing him. So what would they prefer? That the women were drawing a portrait of Picasso, and when you switch it around, is that what they're looking for? That's some of the language that we see in the Guardian article as well. They say, well, you can kind of sense the male gaze in Picasso's work. Excuse me? Well, as soon as you hear the male gaze, that's kind of a red flag that you're in like lunatic left land. I mean, what does that mean, the male gaze? So Picasso appreciated female beauty like every other person with an X and Y chromosome who's heterosexual. So that's a bad thing. I think that Picasso's art, and to a large extent, is a celebration of female beauty, and some of them are kind of more overtly sexual than others. Some of them have symbolism of fertility, and that's, as an artist, I think that he's really encompassing the whole of what it means to be human, and he's reflecting that. Some might say separate the man from the art. So the implication is, yeah, Picasso was a bad guy, but let's just look at his paintings and put that to the side. So one is tempted to use that kind of justification, but I don't even feel like a justification is needed. So the guy was a womanizer. So he went for younger women and he cheated on his wife. Okay, so he's very naughty. What are you going to do? Like, I don't think that in any way affects his legacy as a great painter. It's almost like what you would expect from a very famous, powerful artist. Any man who has achieved great renown is um, is liable to do that. Not every man's going to do that, but it's kind of just what happens because this is just how men are. We're not always Mr. Touchy feely nice people, and especially when an ambitious man is trying to get to the top, then that same ambition translates to romantic conquests. But I think the key point is that these are consensual relationships. And let's say, even if Picasso betrayed his wife, then okay, and then she's free to leave the relationship, and then the next woman has that knowledge. Okay, this guy has a bit of a reputation, and you're free not to get involved with him. I know that's horrible. Um, I feel as I say that like I'm not supposed to say that, but it's so logical. It's such common sense. Another quote from the Guardian article. Quote, "A work of art is an object that is apart from a person. It's out in the world, open to interpretation. Picasso was always painting the woman with whom he was involved. He talked about how his personal life intersects with his art. But that doesn't mean that's what we're limited to." And so that's also discussing the idea of separating the man from his art, and just that the women he was involved with are women that he did portraits of, or maybe portrait's not the right word, but he depicted them in his art. Because, when you're talking about Picasso, you see the profile and the straight on and several perspectives at once. So the other claim is that he appropriated African art because Picasso was kind of fascinated with the tribal face masks they made in Africa. This is Picasso quoted in the Guardian article regarding the African tribal masks that he was interested in. Quote, "I forced myself to stay, to examine these masks, all these objects that people had created with a sacred magical purpose to serve as intermediaries between them and the unknown. Hostile forces surrounding them, attempting in that way to overcome their fears by giving them color and form. And then I understood what painting really meant. It's not an aesthetic process. It's a form of magic that interposes itself between us and the hostile universe, as a means of seizing power by imposing a form on our terrors as well as on our desires. The day I understood that, I had found my path." So that's Pablo Picasso again, quoted in the Guardian article. So what I'm hearing there is that Picasso had a profound respect for the African tribal art, and it was in one maybe small aspect of Picasso's work over his lifetime that was one influence in one period of time. I don't think that, again, you need to justify it saying, oh, look, here's Picasso saying something nice about African tribal masks. It's like no explanation is needed. If he wants to have an influence from Africa, then that's, as an artist, he's free to explore that. And to be fair, even in the Guardian article, there were many presumably, liberal type of artists and art critics who said, yeah, that was a legitimate kind of avenue of artistic expression when, insofar as he was using African art as an influence. So that's the cultural appropriation issue. Well, so that was my trip to the museum. It triggered me, but it's gave me an opportunity to investigate a little bit and to share it with you fine people. Thank you for watching. My name is Michael McCara. In the description, you'll see social media. Follow me on Twitter. Visit my very popular blog. And finally, most importantly, subscribe to my channel.
I've only heard what love can do, and now I'm getting love from you. Make your vows, make